Hello, everyone. Welcome. We're glad to have you on the call. We do have quite a few people registered, so we're going to give everyone a couple more minutes to get logged in. In the meantime, I just want to say hi, and if you would like, go ahead and put in the question panel where you are dialing in from today. So I just like to get to know everyone, figure out where you're coming in from. Kevin from Pennsylvania, welcome. Glad to have you on.
Michelle, I'm not seeing these responses.
You're not seeing the questions?
No.
Let me figure out why you're not seeing those. Because when I gave you presenter, it took away your organizer rights. Let me figure out why. Does that give you both? I still see your screen, so you're still presenter. Is that allowing you to see questions and answers now?
Now I can, yes.
Okay, perfect. All right. Excellent. Glad we got that taken care of. All right. So while everyone is joining, we do have, again, like I said, we have quite a crowd that registered for the event today. I'm not sure with all the craziness right now going on if everyone will attend, but we'll give everyone a few more minutes to get logged in and get settled. So in the meantime, if you'll just let us know where in the world you are joining from. I see Todd is joining from Houston, and Joshua from East Texas, Eli from Cairo, Egypt. Excellent, and love to have you, or Cairo, I should say, huh? Excellent. So it's amazing. I love to see the global audience. And Darren is coming in from Houston, Texas. Excellent.
Got quite the Texas contingent today.
Right? Oh, we have
Lovekish from India.
Yeah.
Good evening.
Yes. So Sean, how are you liking working remote?
You know, it's one of those things that, you know, with my new role, I'm supposed to be traveling 50% of the time, which is not happening currently. So it's definitely a different scenario to commute about 60 feet instead of 6 miles.
Right.
I'm sure there's a lot of us that are in that boat right now.
Yes. It's funny, I've been working remotely for about 10 years now, and I've gotten so used to it, I forget that people enjoy going into an office. So
I definitely miss that part. I miss the ability to get up and just wander over and ask somebody a question, or it's not quite the same when you're doing it virtually, but you know, we adapt.
yes, we do. Indeed. Excellent. So I am seeing the numbers still climb, so we'll give everyone just another minute to join. And as you're joining, if you'll tell us where you're coming in from. All right, well, let's go ahead and get started. So good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are coming in from. We're so happy to have you. I have Sean Hulbert here with me today. He is going to be talking about working remotely. So that is the big topic for today. It seems like everyone is now working remotely. So Sean, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you and let you introduce the topic and everything.
Thank you, Michelle. I appreciate that. And so today what we're going to talk about is coordinating and collaborating Civil 3D files. We're going to talk a little bit about leveraging Navisworks in these workflows. And we're also going to talk about what options are now available to us in the cloud now that we have enabled the Civil 3D functionality in the cloud. So I think we'll go ahead and get started here. Again, my name is Sean Hulbert. I have failed to update my slide here. I apologize. I am a senior implementation consultant now with Autodesk in the consulting group. I've been here at Autodesk for just now 5 years in March, so this is my 5-year anniversary. And I've been using Autodesk products for almost 30 years now. And Michelle is our AEC content manager. Thank you again for joining us, Michelle. So I want to bring this slide to your attention. I know that this is top of mind for everyone. This is our public-facing AKN article related to the COVID-19 pandemic that's going on right now. So I just want to bring this to your attention. We are doing what we can here at Autodesk to make sure that you, we're doing everything we can to make sure that you feel as little pain from the software end of things as possible. So you will notice that we've extended some of our deadlines related to our maintenance agreements and our multi-user network licensing agreements. And we've also extended some of our terms as far as payment is concerned related to this scenario. But one of the other things that we want to also talk to you about today is, with this environment, with the Civil 3D migration over to BIM 360 or inclusion in BIM 360, this is definitely the time. Not that this is a good time for us, but it's definitely a great time for us to talk about collaborating outside of our traditional work environment. So, when we're talking about having to work from home, we're talking about not having access to our machines, not having access to the information that we might be needing to get our jobs done. Just remember that there's a lot of resources out there from both Autodesk as well as Microsoft and a number of other software producers that are trying to help you overcome these challenges that we're all actually suffering through right now. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to your partners or to anybody here at Autodesk, and we'd be more than happy to get you some additional information. This is a public-facing article, so if you, where did I put that? Let me bring it back over here. It is in our AKN. If you have any other questions, there's a link there to give us some feedback as well. So just take a quick peek here. It is the COVID-19 Resource Center at Autodesk. This is a public-facing article, like I said. So with all that silliness moving on, we're going to talk about our virtual meetups again. And just a reminder, here is the schedule that we are looking at for our virtual meetups. Obviously, the third Tuesday is our civil engineering meetup, but we do have a number of other meetups going on during the month. Everybody knows that this is getting really close to time for our global launch, so keep your eyes and ears open for some exciting news coming from Autodesk in the not too distant future. So what are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk today about leveraging Navisworks and model coordination to do some coordinating inside, wow, that was kind of hard to spit out, inside Civil 3D files or with Civil 3D files. And one of the things that we want to talk about is what does it look like to set up a Civil 3D file to be leveraged inside Navis and inside the model coordination tool in BIM 360. We're going to show you what it looks like to bring that information over into Navisworks, and then we're going to run some clash detections in both the model coordination tool on BIM 360 as well as Navisworks, just to give you a feel for what the different tools look like and how you can leverage the information. Again, this is a collaborative event, and we really like to have participation from our attendees. So if anybody would like to pause the presentation to ask some questions, or if anybody would like to chime in with some experiences that they've had, please feel free to do so. We can unmute you, or we can just read your questions out to the community via the question answer pane. Just because I'll probably say something that I shouldn't say, or might indicate functionality in an AutoCAD product or Autodesk product coming soon, I wouldn't want you to make a purchasing decision based on that that statement. So just like to throw my safe harbor statement up here. I do want to let you know that anybody who is part of the Infrastructure Futures portal, and if you're not, please reach out to me and I will get you into that Futures portal if you're interested. But I would highly recommend you take a peek in the Futures portal to see what our team released last week. As of last Friday, there was some very exciting news there. I don't want to go too far because we're not technically all under NDA here, but I do want to let you know if you're part of that community, definitely check out what the team has done specifically around collaborating with AutoCAD-based files. That's about as far as I'll go. Okay, so let's talk about what are we going to do for, and you saw that we're not, this is death by PowerPoint. Nope, not today. We're going to jump right into the product. So I know that everybody just can't get enough of these wonderful PowerPoint presentations, but just bear with me and we'll start playing around in the product here real soon. So what does it look like to set up your files for clash detection? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and open up my Civil 3D drawing, and I'm going to shut everything down. I don't think I ran my rules on this pipe. This should be interesting. We'll see what happens. Just to give you a little background of what I've done here is I kind of like to start with, a blank slate. Take all the, no tricks up my sleeve, not hiding anything from you. I just want you to know that what I've done here is I went out to InfoWorks, and this is one of the workflows that I love about InfoWorks. Just a little bit of one of my side tangents here that if you've attended my presentations, you know I take many of those tangents from time to time. But what you're going to see here is I've just jumped into Navisworks. I'm going to say that 3 or 4 times today. I've jumped over here into a model in InfoWorks, and I just picked a nice flat area that I wanted to start doing my work in. So I needed a surface. I wanted some alignments. I wasn't going to create all this from scratch. Real quick and easy, I just grabbed myself a data set right here in my InfoWorks model, sent that over to Civil 3D, and started doing my work. So I kind of like to just bring everything together and tie my story around, because one of the questions or one of the comments that I get from a lot of our customers is, why do we have to keep learning all these different tools? And the very first thing I'll say is, have you ever been on a construction site and look at the tool belt that the people are carrying around on a construction site? There's no less than 30 tools in there, I would guess, on any good day, from anything from a pair of pliers, tape, a measuring tape, a level, hammer, screwdriver, you name it, those are in that tool belt. So think of your software the same way. We don't have any trouble jumping out of PowerPoint, jumping into Excel, jumping into Word to get our word processing, our presentations, and our spreadsheets done, but we get a lot of reluctance to jump out of Civil 3D and jump into Navisworks to do some clash detection. And I just want to start understanding that apprehension a little bit better, but I also want to start helping our customers understand that we want you to use the right tool for the job. There is not one piece of software made on the planet that will do everything that you want it to do. It doesn't matter who makes it, that software does not exist, because what you want your software to do is a little bit different than what I want my software to do. So we're trying to make everybody happy. And so that's why we really do have to kind of creep out of our comfort zone sometimes and leverage the tools that we have available instead of just what we were told that we needed to be using. So with that little spiel, let's go ahead and jump over to Civil 3D. Now what you're going to see here is I've got my Civil 3D project already set up in a BIM 360 environment. You can see that I'm here in BIM 360. I've got my project set up here. I'm in the correct account. I'm in my correct project, and you can see that here's my files. I'm going to take a step back and show you what my directory structure looks like. I'm trying to keep things nice and clean as we move things over to the cloud. Now remember, when you're moving things to the cloud, it's not as quick as if you were moving things around locally or if you're moving them in your local network. So just have a little bit of patience when it comes to those type efforts. For those of us who are working at home, we can say that that's our commuting time, right? The files are commuting to us now instead of us commuting to the files. I just kind of coined that. That was kind of interesting. So let's go ahead and jump into our design files. And what you'll see here is I try to make sure that when I'm naming my information, that I include some information in the names of my files that are going to indicate what that data is. Now, I understand that a lot of projects have their own specific naming conventions. One of the things that I've run into as we're doing more cloud collaboration is that it becomes more important for us to understand what that naming convention is, or even more important, and it becomes important for us to make sure that the information that is being leveraged in those naming conventions is something that it can be easily discerned or understood by all of our team. I've run into a lot of times where you'll start seeing, I believe they're AIA codes that I'm not as familiar with, and it, for the first 8 or 10 characters of your drawing, it just has no value. If that's the situation that we're in, then that's what we'll have to embrace. But just as a recommendation, if you can include any information inside the file that would tell you what it is, it's definitely helpful. So let's go ahead and we're going to just jump into this corridor drawing that I created here. And what I've done is I've separated all of my files in a traditional style environment. I do understand that you can push everything in the same file inside Civil 3D if you would like to. I recommend against that, because if you do get corruption, you've corrupted everything and you've lost everything. But in the model collaboration environment, model coordination environment, you're really going to need to keep these objects separated from each other, because it's not going to want to clash on the information that's in the same file, or not as, it seems more user-friendly to keep things separated, and it seems like it's a more realistic environment, and that's what we're trying to go for here. Try to stay as close to reality as we can. So what I've got here is I've just got a quick corridor drawing. You'll see that I've created my data shortcuts over here in BIM 360, so I can leverage all that information. And because I knew you were going to see this, I wanted to go ahead and let you know that that is where that surface came from the InfraWorks model that I created. Now, a couple quick things. This is just the component road that came from InfraWorks. I went ahead and updated some of the information that came out of InfraWorks just to make it a little more. Actually, I wanted to make the road wider so I could get all my pipes in it. Kind of the advantage of creating stuff on the fly and doing things in a pretend world instead of the real world. I can just make the road wider, where not everybody on the call has that availability. And so what we've done here is we've created our corridor, like I said. And then inside this corridor, one of the things that we're going to want to do is we're going to want to extract our solids. And the reason is if you think about the way that a corridor is constructed, corridor is based on the, pardon me, here we go, a little bit of a tickle. No virus, I promise. So if we think about the way that corridor is constructed, we're really basically creating that corridor based on the frequency inside the corridor properties. And so if we were to run a clash detection in something like Navis or in our model coordination tools, we're really not going to have a complete object in every scenario, right? We're only getting those cross-sectional samplings. So what we want to do here with our corridor is one of the first things we want to do is we want to extract our solids. And this tool's been around, I'm going to say this one's been around for probably a good 10 years now, maybe not quite that long, but it's been out there for some time. And what you're going to see here is, I've lost my dialog box. Let me try that one more time. That's my surface, not my corridor. And you'll see that I've already got my solids in here, just so you don't have to wait for me to do that. But what I was trying to do is show you the process to get those to extract. So we'll extract our solids. Down here at the bottom, it's asking, where do we want to extract these solids? Is it just within a specific area, or do we want to do all of it? There, I was not reading my command prompt. The very first thing we all learned in AutoCAD is to read that command prompt. And now we're going to talk about preparing the information that we want to send out for Clash. So you'll see in this assembly, we've got our lane, we've got our curb and gutter, we've got our sidewalk, we've got our daylights, and then we've got the other lane on the other side of the road. And here again is a great example of me not following my own CAD guidelines and using good naming conventions, because if I'm not paying attention, I'm not really sure where this object is at. And if this was a much more complicated subassembly, it could be even more challenging for me. So just back on some of the things that you'll hear me harp about in all of our presentations is good naming conventions. And then all of the things that I harp about, you'll see that I'm very much a hypocrite about my own hypocrisy. So let's continue here. We've selected all the objects that we want to extract. Some of these elements might not be useful, or do we really need to extract the daylight? And one of the things we'll talk about is when we're working with surfaces in Civil 3D, while they're extremely powerful, they're extremely ignorant, in my opinion, because they have no idea about the material that makes up that surface. They're just that collection of 10 lines that are creating this object for us. So a lot of times when we're working with clash environment or clash detecting environment, something of that nature, I may not even include my surfaces for that, because I'm really focusing on those hard structures, those objects that are going to create challenges. Now, another one option where I'll take a step back and say we might want to consider surfaces is if we're trying to make sure that everything is poking through the surface like it should be. If we've got all of our manholes where they should be, and if we've got any pipes or any structures coming out of the ground that should not be coming out of the ground. So, it's definitely there. It's a tool that we can use, but you may consider not including it when you're doing your extractions. So let's go ahead and we'll pull off Daylight General on both sides. And that way we won't have to worry about anything that gets in our way. And then we'll say next. Now we've got some other settings that we can control in here. A lot of extra information. We don't need to go into all of this. Go to our output settings. This is where I want to point out that we want to base on swept solids. We want that solid object between those frequencies. In that way, we'll see a much better object in order to do our clashing. I'm actually going to send this into a new drawing, which will break our dynamic link. But since I've already got them in this drawing, I didn't want to send them back into here. So we'll go to our BIM 360 environment. We'll get into our collaboration for Civil 3D project. And these are going to actually be something that we're going to use for coordination. So we'll just call them solids. And there we go. Extract our solids. It'll go ahead and create that drawing for us, and then we'll be able to leverage that information inside our Navisworks models. So this should be all fairly review for everybody. Is there any questions that we have right at the moment? Does not appear so. Again, this is an interactive presentation. If I go down a path that you feel that you would go a different path, please, by all means, jump in and share with us. Let's go ahead and open up this water drawing real quick. I just want to make sure that the changes I made to my drawing did get saved before I go and embarrass myself. You'll see that I have collaborated. I have referenced all of my different objects into my different drawings, and that's going to give me the ability to work as we normally would in our industry. We're going to be able to see that we've got our sanitary, we've got our storm, and we've got our water here. And I'm going to go ahead and select that water. And I'm going to draw this in profile. That's what I did not do. I did not set the vertical on this. My apologies. Give me just 30 seconds here. Surface profile off of both of those. Oops, and that was the wrong street. Again, Sean's not paying attention, reading his prompts. We've all been talked to about that before, I'm sure. Getting a little bit of a hurry. My apologies. There we go. We'll get rid of that. So we've got that. There we go. Create our profile view. We're going to get rid of this one. We don't need that road. I didn't set my design profile correctly. Let's go ahead and correct that real quick. Things are running just a hair bit slow for me right now because I'm trying to be in a hurry. That's the way it always works, right? There we go. And now I'm going to go ahead and draw my pipe in my profile. I knew I'd forgotten to do that. My apologies, like I say. Yeah, let's just go ahead and drag this guy up. It is vertical. We're not too far off. Yeah, we are. You can see us coming out of the ground right here. So that's actually not going to work for us. And let's make sure that it's going to hit something. So I'm going to put that at about 4 feet. I'm pretty sure that's going to hit. Oh, should have grabbed the whole pipe. Sorry. There we go. Okay, we'll leave that one where it's at. Everything is underground now. Let's go ahead and save our drawings. Let's talk about getting this information moved over to Navisworks. So again, you heard me talk about how surfaces behave. You're going to, let's go ahead and let's start a new Navisworks file here. Okie doke. So we're going to go ahead and append it. And because I don't actually have the model stored out here in BIM 360, we're just going to go ahead and append a local model right at this time. And what we're going to start with here is I'm going to go with my corridor because I know I have the solids in that corridor previously. And I'm going to go ahead and add sanitary storm and water. I'm going to leave my surface out because, like I said, I don't really need to clash with my surface. And so the first thing you're going to see me do here as I start preparing my drawings is start hiding all those surfaces that are in my way, and then we'll start running some clash detections. Now, while this is happening in the background here, I'm going to jump back over to Civil 3D just to kind of give you a more complete look at what we were working on here. Oops. Sure, so let's go ahead and I'll open my storm file here as well. And you can see that we've got our pipe network designed. So we're messing with today a corridor. We're going to play with some pressure pipes, and we're going to play with our gravity pipes. So it's pretty much everything that you're going to need in any Civil 3D project as far as what we want to start clashing inside Navisworks or finding those potential conflicts. So here you can see our storm line. I haven't brought my water or my sanitary over. Not important, but it is important to understand that this information will come through in unintended areas. So we just have to be mindful of it. So we've pretty much prepared our drawings the way we'd like to see them. We were killing a little time waiting for Navis to do its thing. Didn't kill quite enough time. So let me just throw out a quick question there for everybody, and you probably just throw your answer up in the Q&A. Is it safe to assume that pretty much everybody is working from home at this point?
Odd Rogers is saying not them.
Not yet, okay. Well,
Josh?
I'm here in Portland, and Portland, we've pretty much, they've shut down everything. All the restaurants and bars have been closed. As far as anybody sitting inside, they're still doing deliveries. All the schools are closed, and actually my daughter was in Washington going to school, and she will not go back until September. So that's a bit challenging.
Wow, that's a long break.
Well, they're doing virtual online. My concern is she going to get her room and board back? Because that's not cheap at college.
Right.
And do I get that money? Okay, so what you're seeing me do here is I've brought in my drawings, and you're going to say, yeah, but you didn't bring the surfaces in. Well, remember that I have those surfaces data referenced into my Civil 3D files, so I'm seeing them again here. And that's something that you definitely want to be paying attention to, because when you start doing your clashing, you want to make sure that you're clashing the information in the file that you intend to be clashing it in, and not in some other file just because it loaded mistakenly. I'm also going to go ahead and hide the 10 for my road, because I know that when I did my, when I built my model, that I had set all of my information to that surface. So I know that it's going to be pulling all of my vertical data off of the surface. I don't have to worry about it here in Navis. I'm not going to do those clashes inside my model. But as you can see here, now let me just take 2 steps back. One of the very first things I like to do is save a viewpoint. Because if you're working in real world coordinates in Navis, sometimes it can be, oh, that's not site, that's side. Talking and typing at the same time is never a skill of mine. When you're working in Navis, from time to time in real world coordinates, you can have things happen where you lose your model. And all I did was do a little zooming, and now you can see that I'm pretty much lost in space. Can't find myself. Oh, it did pop back up. But as I'm zooming around, it's just not happy. I always like to save my site, and that way I can get back to where I'm at. Also, when you're doing your clash detections, this is going to help you move around your model as well. And I also like to turn off ortho. Now, one of the things that I failed to do is go into my options and talk to you about some options. Do make sure that you set up your units correctly when you're jumping over to Navis. And if you want to limit any of your coordinate accuracy, you can do that as well. We don't need anything more than 1,000 in Navisworks when we're doing clash detection. There's really no reason to go any further than that. Go back to perspective. There we go. Oop, and see, you saw me lose it again. Okay. So as you can see here, we've got our objects brought over. We've got some text and things as well. We can tell that not to come over if we don't want it to come over. Again, that's underneath in our options here. We have full control over, or a lot of control, maybe I should say, not full control, but a lot of control over what elements are being brought over from your DWG or DXF files. You can see I turned views, points, and lines off. I didn't really feel that we needed those because the lines aren't necessarily going to be clashing because they're not in 3D. Or the ones that I'm using. The other thing is that right here, this has become a challenge for some users from time to time because this dialog box will get unchecked for some reason, and the objects that you're trying to clash in Civil 3D are not coming over. Your pipes and your other elements are not coming through. This is likely the reason that that's not happening. Okay, so without further ado, we'll go over here to home. I've got my Clash Detective panel open. I'm going to go ahead and just drop it here right on top, and you can see that I can dock this using my docking tools here. Typical Navisworks functionality. That wasn't going to come out very clean, was it? So the very first thing we're going to want to do is we have to add a test. Now, what do we want to test on? Now, we have a lot of information that we can go in here. Let's go storm and sanitary. I can spell. And now what I want to do is I'm going to come over here to my sanitary drawing, and I want to choose my storm drawing. But do I want to choose the whole thing? No, I don't, because we know that there could be some corridor elements that are still in there because we have that corridor data referenced. So, again, the best thing for us to do initially is going to be to clean a lot of this information up using our hide functionality. I'm going to go ahead and hide my corridor here. And the reason I'm hiding my corridor is, you see, I've got my solids. I'm not going to clash on my corridor. I'm going to clash on these solids that we extracted. And what we did in our presentation portion, or the Civil 3D portion, you saw me actually create a separate file with those elements. I can bring that in and we can clash on those. For right now, we're going to go ahead and do this because I know this one is functioning the way it should. You know me, I'll get a little bit renegade, and then things will not function the way they should. So let's go ahead. We've got our clearances set up. Do we want a hard? Do we want clearance? Do we want to be a conservative hard, which gives us a little bit of a buffer there? So we have our determinations. And then where do we want to link this back to? We're not going to link this to our timeliner. We're not worried about that. And let's go for clearance. But let's say, since we're doing sanitary and storm, we're going to need a good foot of tolerance through these things. So let's go ahead and run our test and find out which clashes we get. Here we go. Now, Sean has made a mistake. Obviously, structures are going to clash with pipes if they're connected to the same thing. This one is not necessarily showing us a clash that we should be worried about. This is clashing a pipe with a structure. And the storm structure is coming from the sanitary drawing because it was data referenced in. So again, this is just part of that prepping your file for use. I failed to do this when I was doing my updates. Another way to do this would be to have files that we pull outside of our design to do our clashing. But then think about the extra step that's required there. So there's not a perfect scenario for anything in any software, but there are a lot of great recommendations that will follow. So what you're seeing here is I've turned my storm off in my sanitary. I'm going to come up here. I'm going to turn all my road stuff off as well. Turn my road off. I'm going to turn sanitary and storm off in my water. We don't need to see our text. Okay, so now we've got storm, pipe, and structures and sanitary sewer, pipes and structures in our sanitary drawing, and we have storm structures and pipes in our storm drawing. Oh, that's the only information being displayed. Let's go ahead and reset this and run that test again. Now what we should see is we have different clashes. We actually, right here, and this is kind of what we were hoping to see, is we have our storm a little too close to our sanitary. And this is kind of there's a lot of time spent and wasted in civil design doing these exact activities. You can see I don't have my catch basins attached to my storm system yet, but as those catch basins will be added to my system, you're going to see that more problems start arising. Right here, we have a distance issue. We don't have the clearance that we're looking for. We're pretty close, but we don't have that clearance. And so now we can start creating our reports. We can extract that information. We can assign these issues or these situations to specific users to have those issues corrected. We can group these issues with other issues that are related to the similar problems, or we can create another test. Let's go ahead and run water. Now, we could select our elements like this and not have to hide the elements. So again, just like most processes inside any Autodesk products, there's more than one way to do the same thing. Again, we just ran a test and we have no clashes with our water. Let's look at what that test is all about. Let me just get rid of this one here. Let's add a new test. New, we're going to do water pipes and fittings. They should be hitting something. Let me go ahead and do that to storm. I'm pretty sure they hit storm. We want a clearance of 1 foot. They didn't hit, they didn't hit, they didn't hit. So what we can see here is we've got our water line right here under the road. It looks like it's pretty much got clearance everywhere that it needs clearance. Again, if I had my catch basins in there, you'd probably see them crunching into each other. But let's talk about our corridor now. Let's see what information we can get out of that corridor. This is where I think a lot of power is, because we can actually do these clash detections on each of the individual elements of the assembly that's built inside our corridor. So for example, a lot of the times if our subbase has pipe up in it, that pipe has to have additional strength, or we have to move that pipe out of there. So let's go ahead and clash with all 3 of our piping networks, and let's see where the subbase hits a pipe or a structure for that matter. So remember, our structures are poking through the subbase. We had better see some clashes here. Exactly as I expected, we've got a clash here because it's poking through the subbase. Well, that's intended. We're not going to worry about that one. And so we can just go up here. We can say that this one is approved. No reason, nothing else to do here. We've looked at this. We know why it's poking through. There's no harm, no foul in this scenario. We can continue through each of our different clashes, and you'll see that I bounce around. As I move through my clashes, each of the different structures are highlighted. And now what are we clashing here? This one looks like we're clashing with pipe, and that's what I wanted to see. So here's our pipe, and let's go ahead and use some better tools. I'm going to slide this out of the way real quick. There we go. Now our pipe is up inside our subbase, and that's definitely a challenge in civil engineering design. We can either make that pipe a little bit stronger, allow it to continue in that subbase, or we can change our vertical design for our storm system and go ahead and get that into a more realistic location in our model. So that's kind of your high level information, what we're going to do here with Navis. And I hope you see the value of this. I mean, like I said, I've spent a ton of time in my career hand calculating every single crossing just to make sure we weren't hitting, or so we could show it on the plans. We now have the tools to help you show that on the plans, but we're going to show that on a 2-dimensional profile. What value is that 2-dimensional profile of the center line of this road if this pipe is not running down the center line or not even parallel to the center line? So this is going to give you that ability to start doing some of those, and I'm going to say it, these monotonous checks that will cost us a lot of time and money once it hits the field. I've heard a number, and I'm not sure, I haven't validated the number myself, but I've definitely heard that a change in the office, in design, during design, costs $24. A change during review after the plans have been prepared and are ready to move, or after they have been bid, is $240. Once that change hits the field, it's $2,400. So we see a factor of 10 every time we make those changes. So if we could stop any clashes with known objects, and you're going to hear me say that one loud, known objects, then we have the ability to prevent a lot of loss in time and well, time and which is money. So the other challenge that you're going to have here is that in this particular roadway that we're working on, one of the things that I'm not showing you intentionally is existing utilities. Because in this particular scenario, I have no idea where they are because I just kind of picked an area in InfraWorks that I was familiar with. But the point being is that when you get your utilities located, they're going to be located on a level of detail or a quality of service. Quality of location. I'm getting my terminology mixed up here, my apologies. But the point being is that we're going to be able to do our best checks or guess and check when we're doing this. But this is also an environment, if we can get the surveyors or our existing base map builders to create those objects in 3D, then we can start leveraging the tools that are here inside Navis. So let's jump back over into BIM 360 real quick, and let's take a peek at what that looks like as far as doing any of our clashing. Go ahead and sign into our environment. Yeah. Okay. Everybody close your eyes because I can't type if you're watching. Any questions so far? It's a quiet group this morning.
It is a very quiet group. Yes, no questions.
They're all sleeping at home. I don't think they're working from home. Hopefully nobody's managers on the call. Okay, so what you'll see that I've done here is, again, this is just that same collaboration for civil environment that we've been playing with for quite a few weeks now, months, ever since we got that tool. One tidbit that I do want to share is that towards, I believe it was the last week of February, we did release a 2020.3 update for Civil 3D, as well as a 12.5.0.999 update for Desktop Connector. So please make sure you've loaded those. It will make your experience inside Civil 3D and BIM 360 much better. I will also say that any challenges or any recommendations that you have, the best place to give that feedback would probably be the Infrastructure Futures portal. There's a lot of activity, like I said, happening in there, and it is definitely a great resource. Okay, so what you're going to see here is over in my project files, I've got the folders created that you noticed that I was digging in for all my drawings before. Here's our surface. Oh, that's my coordination models. My apology. We jump over here. Here are those elements that, and you can see that Navis is already starting to propagate those NWC files in those folders for us. What's that going to do for us in BIM 360? Do we know? Well, here we go. We're going to go ahead and jump right into that NWC file somewhere, and we can move around in here just like we would expect with any model inside BIM 360. So, and then just like always, I lose things in space. There we go. And because, you know, Civil 3D moves a little different than Navis, moves a little different than Revit, moves a little different than InfraWorks, keeps us on our toes. So this is just giving you the ability to see that NWC file of the DWG inside BIM 360, just to let you know you can do it. You can run the compare tools. You can do your sectioning tools, just like we would in any BIM 360 docs environment. These I actually like. These are kind of fun, if I could figure out how to use them. Okay, let's jump back over into our drawings. Now, one of the things that you may have noticed that I did is I went ahead and I created a surface inside Revit using my collaboration tools inside Civil 3D to send that surface out to Revit. We've talked about that previously, I believe. Just as a quick recap here, while Revit's opening, I went to our output and I published my surface to BIM, to BIM 360. And that way, when I have my Revit model, if there's anything in Revit that I'm working with, and no, the Revit's just not for buildings, right? It doesn't just do buildings. Very soon, to a Revit near you, and here we go under that safe harbor statement, we'll be able to leverage alignments inside Revit as well as the surfaces. So think about how that might work with a linear object that is being built inside Revit. So one of our structures. And when I say structures, everybody thinks of bridges. Well, bridges definitely an iconic structure that can be built in Revit. What about a retaining wall? We can do our retaining walls design inside Revit. We can leverage the inventor generic objects that we're going to bring into InfraWorks that we're then going to send over to Civil 3D and into Revit. So you can see me bringing that holistic toolbox back conversation, right? We're using Revit, InfraWorks, Navisworks, Civil 3D, Inventor. What else can I? BIM 360. I mean, we're gonna have the whole suite of Autodesk products here up on the screen here in just a few minutes. Aside from Alias, I don't think I know how to use that. Anyways, let's jump back over into our model and let's jump over into our model coordination. So what you'll see here that I've done is I've uploaded my drawings into my plans folder, and I allowed the BIM 360 environment to process this data. As you'll see, I'm going to jump over into my drawing, just like you would expect. If I get underneath it, here's my pipes that are in that drawing. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to start asking for some help in the model coordination environment to tell us where we have clashes in our model. And this is actually doing these clashes inside the cloud. So we've stepped outside of Navisworks. Now we've jumped into the BIM 360 model coordination environment. And now we're going to start checking out these clashes. Now, the one thing that I'm going to warn you is that I would highly recommend clean files get pushed up into your model coordination environment, because you're going to see hundreds of clashes with your surfaces. So that was one of the things that I stumbled upon inadvertently, and I thought, well, you know what, we're going to go ahead and we're going to show this because it's an area that we want to make sure that we're talking about. So here's my models, and I want to do clashes. There we go. So here we can see that the corridor is clashing with sanitary 31 times. Let's jump over there and let's start looking at what those clashes look like, and then realize that we're going to be able to start assigning these clashes to individuals on our design team to go deal with. And so what you're seeing right here is, as we would expect, the surface is clashing. Okay, that one's okay. We don't care about that one. And so we can go through our process of here and say where we care about the surfaces clashing and where we don't care about them. We really don't care about the corridor clashing with sanitary because I know the sanitary is deep enough. So we can move right on from this one and move to our next set of clashes. And so it really becomes important for you to start managing the information that you're pushing out into the environment so you can get your accurate clashes and so you can get your accurate views. Again, here we are with our, I think I picked Storm this time. And this is the one that should clash. I did pick Storm. And this pipe is clashing with a solid. And that's what we did want to see. So if I zoom in here, I'm going to see that this solid is clashing with this pipe. Now that's a problem. We don't want that to happen. So now we go into the process of assigning this issue out. We're going to go ahead and create an issue. We're going to assign it to Sean. We're going to say pipes are clashing. We're going to assign it, and why can I not create? What did I forget to do here? Got my title. Oh, because I didn't put my pen on this drawing. You got to put where the issue's at. My apologies, everyone. Excuse me. And there we go. So now I've created the issue. It's been assigned to, we move over to the assign tag. Sean is now responsible for the open issue where this pipe is clashing with two other objects. Here's our model. If I needed to jump back over into there to check it out. So this is going to, as we're working from home now, this is going to give us the ability to start leveraging those teams to start getting this work that we still have a job to get done. So this is going to help us hopefully get those jobs done a little bit quicker with a lot more efficiencies. So I'm going to open it up real quick. Who is leveraging Navisworks and Civil 3D right now, or who has leveraged BIM or model coordination with Civil 3D right now? Am I really jumping off the cliff here on my own? Oh, of course, Todd. Yes. I didn't even ask that question. Todd's going to put on one of these presentations for us one day, Michelle.
That's right. Give you a little break, right?
We'll just go ahead and call him out here on the call, and that way he can't say no. Anybody else leveraging this? Are we finding this information helpful? Is this something new that you might want to start playing with in your environment? I guess would be another question if you haven't used it yet. And I will also say that, again, I like to say things I shouldn't say. Keep your eyes open for some enhanced functionality in a lot of our products this year for our global launch. As you know, that March and April is that time when you might see new Autodesk products. Hint, hint. And there's been a lot of exciting things going on behind the scenes here. So I'm really excited to see what happens with our 2021 release of our products. And I'd really like to hear some feedback from some of our users on what they think about some of the changes that have been made.
Mhm.
So we do have 10 more minutes if you have any questions. Is there anything else, any other bridge somebody'd like to see me jump off of? And as I say that, I kind of missed an opportunity here. If I take 10 steps back, in my design here, I should have thrown this road up in the air or put it over a ravine or something of that nature, and think about how your Revit bridge is going to clash with your piping or your structures as far as your substructure and your assemblies and things like that. That's another area that we don't necessarily always work the details out until we're in the field. So you're going to have to hang that pipe on something if it's crossing that bridge. What does that look like, and are we taking into consideration for that?
So Todd is asking the question, where's the best place for feedback? Would it be the infrastructures portal? I believe you wanted it in the futures portal, right?
The infrastructure futures portal, yes. And so for all those that don't know, the Civil 3D Futures and the InfraWorks Futures portals have both been retired and combined into the Infrastructure Futures portal. So if you were a member of Civil or InfraWorks, you should have been moved over. If you have not, please feel free to, you know what, I don't have that email handy. I should have that before I even start talking. You feel free to reach out to me and I'll make sure that you get plugged into the Futures portal. And then Tim Yaris is the product owner for Civil 3D, and they do a presentation on most Thursdays at 8 a.m. Frequently, they'll get canceled if there's nothing exciting to show you, but 2 or 3 times minimum per month, you're going to see a presentation on what the Civil team's working on if you're part of that Futures portal.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't see any more questions coming in. If you do have some questions, definitely put those into the question panel. If not, there's no need to waste your time, and we can give you back a few minutes of your day. Todd says, thanks, guys. Nailed it.
Thanks, Todd. I appreciate that. Well, I hope everybody has a happy, safe week, and stay healthy, everyone. Please let us know if there's anything that you'd like to see in these presentations in the near future. We'd love to start getting some ideas from our attendees just to make sure that you're seeing what you'd like to see, especially those who are attending. Definitely give us that feedback.
Yeah, definitely. And just one last little plug. Love Keisha's reminding us that the Idea Station is a great place to go and let us know your ideas, what you'd like to see in the software as well.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, with that, we'll let you have about 5 or 8 minutes left back to your day, and we hope to see you next month. Hopefully, you're adjusting well to working remotely. If you need help getting adjusted, holler at us. We would love to help you because your success really does matter to us. So thanks again for coming, and Sean, thank you so much for the great presentation.
Thank you. I appreciate everybody's time, and look forward to seeing you next month.
Yep. All right. Take care, everyone.
Bye, everyone.